my little dumpster fire babies. How is everyone doing this morning? I hope that everyone's day is off to a wonderful, fantastic start. If this is your first time here, hi, my name is Carrington. Welcome to the channel. Even if it's not your first time here, you've been here a time or two, but you may not have yet, hit that subscribe button or click the little bell. I absolutely invite you to do so. I do a ton of testing new makeup. I love makeup. Obviously, you're here, you must love makeup. So I'm excited to dive into new makeup products as often as I can. So I hope that if you guys enjoy that type of stuff, you give this video a thumbs up and you do subscribe. But let's go ahead and let's dive on into what it is we are testing out today, because I have some stuff. We've got some stuff. So first things first is I have this from Blvd. This is the Pore Refining Primer. We did try the Good Apple Serum Foundation in a previous video. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I am still testing it and playing around with it. I have not quite got there yet to if I like it or not. We're still playing. But then we have this from Essence. They came out with this lip kit. There is one. I have it somewhere. I've been using it. But you have these Essence Extreme Shine Volume Lip Glosses. It was this whole thing. There was 4 of them for $10, I think. That's a really good deal. This is a really good gloss formula. I love the Essence gloss formula. It's so good, so affordable. We also have from Sephora this little lip kit. We have a Laneige lip treatment balm, a Clinique, a NARS, Charlotte Tilbury, and then a Rare Beauty lip liner. The rest of them all kind of seem like they're very balm-like, but we're gonna try that out as well. From Undone Beauty, I have this Serum Tint Enhancing Wand for Lit From Within Glow Sheer Radiant. Listen, it does not tell you how to use this on here with this unique dab on brightening serum. I have been trying to use this. I'm not gonna lie. Just even on the back of my hand, and it's just not. I guess it does kind of show up, but I don't know if I'm gonna love this. This is just first impressions though. From Wet n Wild, I have the 5-in-1 Essence Primer and Finish Powder. We did try the 5-in-1 Essence Primer, not the finishing powder. I was not a huge fan. Next up, we have this from Juvia's Place. I literally forgot that I had this, and I've had this for the longest time. But I'm wondering if this is again going to be another dupe for that Dior blush, the Dior Glow blush that everyone is coming out with. This came out a while ago though, a long time ago, but I don't know if they're gonna be dupes for it, truthfully. Okay, well that purple one doesn't really even show up that well. I don't know. Okay, well, let's try. It's this little light purple one that is just not showing up. Yeah, it's not really showing up. Interesting. Okay. And then the most exciting thing is I did spend $135 to get the Adept Cosmetics mystery box. That finally has come in, so I'm excited to use it. And in it comes these little waterproof, the Collective Waterproof Liquid Liner. And then they also in that box came with this palette, the La Cienega. And I'm not gonna lie, I think this might be probably one of my all-time favorite palettes from them. But while I'm trying this out, we can definitely explain why this might be more of my all-time favorite palette. And then we do have this little berry sponge from the Glamlight Strawberry collection. It's very interesting. This feels very much like a sponge. It's a very nice sponge. It's very nice, very soft. This upper part though really doesn't really serve much of a function, and it's almost kind of like a sponge material, which you would be it's a beauty sponge, but there's no way you could use this. This is we're talking dish sponge, a sponge that you would use for your dishes. It's very interesting. So these are all the things that we have to try today. So if you guys are excited to see what I think of all of these products, would I recommend them, then definitely keep on watching. So we are going to go ahead and we are going to kick it off with some swatches. So let's start with the palette. First up in the first row, we have Hawthorne, Inglewood, we have the 40s, El Segundo, Del Air. Moving on to the next row, we have Baldwin Hills, Sepulveda Boulevard, Yeah, I guess it's Sepulveda Boulevard. The 105 Freeway, Wilshire, and Lenox. Moving on to the final row, which is going to be all shimmers. We have Hermosa Beach. We have Manhattan Beach. We have Redonda Beach. We have PCH. And we have Santa Monica Boulevard. So that is it for this palette. It is a very, very just like beautiful palette. I am so excited to be able to try this palette out. It's wild. Okay. So then moving on then to the eyeliners. So the very first one we have is Noonian Sonic right there. We then have Rom right here. It's a little bit like a goldenish shade. We then have Coldicat right here. We then have Bio Mimetic Gel right there. We have Tarek Noir. This is supposed to be, I think it's supposed to be like a black, like just a basic black. We have Goron right here. We have LT Barclay right there. And then the last one is going to be Sector 001. So the liners are very just like green heavy. There's a lot of greens or ones that shift green. It looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of the 8 have like some sort of shift to green or are mostly green based. Moving on then into the lip options. So right here, we have the lip liner, which is in Kind Words. This next one is the Clinique one. This is in Black Honey. It's very balm-like. This one right here, you can't see super well, but this is the NARS Laguna Beach type of balm. And then last right here is going to be the Charlotte Tilbury. And this is in the shade Pillow Talk. Again, all of these are very, very balm-like. There's not anything that's super like a lipstick or like a gloss. It is just kind of like the Tarte Maracujas. All of those are kind of representative of that. And then I know that like, you know, even though they're balmy, we're still going to go over it with one of these glosses. Right. So we have this palette. One thing I will say I really like about this palette is just how easy it is to flip it that way. So simple, so easy. But I'm thinking I have like on gray, I've got on like a little bit of like a leopard kind of going on. So maybe something a little bit more neutral, because there are a lot of like pinks in here, but I'm thinking I might like the neutral a little bit more. So I'm going to start off with the shade right here. This is called Inglewood. I'm not really for sure this is actually going to show up, truthfully. So there isn't really like any kick up in the pan. I'm just working on coating my brush. I've dunked it in quite a few times. And we're just gonna start and see, does that even show up? Maybe a little bit? Oh, kinda. Okay. So I think I'm just gonna stick with doing that. Kind of more up towards my brow, just a little bit. Just gonna have a little bit better diffusion with it, but okay. So this is the reason why I probably think this is probably going to be one of my favorite palettes from Adept ever. I have reviewed quite a few of their palettes. I've used the Plain Jane, I've used the Ninhydrin, I've used the Amunet. Have I used another one? This one now. And with their palettes, something that you will frequently notice is that with their palettes, they come with usually 1 or 2 mattes. I think the most I've seen is maybe like 3. I think maybe the Heather Austin one might have had quite a few more mattes. Okay, so I think I'm gonna move on into, gonna go into this one, Sepulveda Boulevard. This one right here. Again, there's not really a lot of kick up in the pan either, but they only have just a small amount of mattes, and they're very, very shimmer heavy. Now they have a great shimmer formula, so I could definitely see if you're somebody where you really appreciate a ton of shimmers, you know, you could dip into other palettes for mattes, like you might have like the Makeup by Mario, you know, Master Mattes palette, how you could easily just like bring in those shimmers, and, you know, maybe even add some of the mattes that they have. For me, I don't like to have to try to remember to go and get a whole bunch of different stuff, or try to find a palette that I want to use with the with the palette that I have. So for this one, having a ton of mattes but still also having a good wide variety of shimmers makes me extremely happy, just because, again, like, they have a good matte formula as well. Again, there's not a lot of kick up in the pan. I will say it's not like, you know, super bam in your face pigmented, but I kind of am a little bit appreciative of that. You just have the ability to just like build it up, play with it a little bit. But again, I am very, very thankful for the fact that there are quite a few shimmers quite a few mattes to get to play around with without taking away from there being a good amount of shimmers either. So this might be my favorite. I don't know. And then I did, of course, order the new one as well. The Inspired palette, or the Star palette, or something with the palette. What was it? I don't remember exactly what it was, but that's just what makes, I think this is going to be my favorite. Next up, I want to go into the shade right here called the 405. I'm going to take that on a little brush. This one does have a little bit more kick up in the pan than the other shades that I had dealt with, but I wouldn't say it's like atrocious or anything that's like super deal breaking. I know some people hate kick up in the pan, but that really is so minimal that I don't really know if you would really be able to notice. But what is your guys' favorite Adept palette thus far? I really do enjoy the Heather Austin palette. That's probably one of my favorites. It's got some of those like really pretty grungy, dingy colors in it, really pretty shimmers to go along with it. I personally just really enjoy that palette. And then next would probably be the Amunet palette, which I hear they're discontinuing. That makes me a little bit sad because that's a really good palette too. It's got a good amount of, like, I would say good amount of neutral mattes in there. And then, you know, you still get a ton of those like really pretty shimmers. So those are probably like my top two, but I'm kind of wanting to see how much I'm going to love this palette, because I might like this one more than both of those. Maybe because it's really hard to beat the Heather Austin palette, okay? Like, that's a good palette. Such a good palette. What's your guys' favorite? I need to know. Now for the outer corner, I want to go into the shade right here called Baldwin Hills. And I'm just going to start stamping that color in. Again, the shade had a little bit of kick up, but it wasn't a lot. And the shade is stamping on very nicely and easily. Just easy peasy lemon squeezy. We're just going to mess around, play with some shimmers. I want to try to use as many shimmers as possible. I'm going to start off with this one right here called Santa Monica Boulevard. I'm going to take that on my fingers. Oh, okay. So these are a little bit crumbly, the shimmers are. So just be very careful with them, and you will get some fallout onto the face as well. So just be mindful of that. I can feel it falling on my face. Like the second I touch this. Okay. Then I'm just going to go into the shade right here called Redondo Beach. I'm going to take a little bit of that. Again, crumbly. I can feel it kind of falling onto my face. I'll marry them in the center. Whew. That is very, very shimmery. Like, that is so shimmery. Not that that's like a bad thing or anything. You know? It's not a bad thing. Wow. Very shimmery, but again, that has a lot of fallout on like the face. It gets everywhere. I will say with the shimmer formula though, do you see just how like crumbly it is that you can't even like blend it out? It literally just splotches right there on your eye. And I use my NYX glitter glue, which is one of my like tried and true like favorite thing ever. And it just does look a little bit like heavy, very splotchy. I don't know if I love this. I don't know if I'm in love with this. So the one thing I'm going to say about these little liquid liners that's kind of a negative is that you can't tell what shade it is. Like, it'll tell you the name, right? Like, it tells you the name, but you have to know based off the name what color it's going to be. And I don't know what color. I think I remember the black one because I do want to try the black one. It's a very flimsy kind of brush applicator. So then also I want to take this shade right here called Gowron, Gowron, and I kind of want to do just like a little swoop boop here. This one doesn't feel quite as watery. This one actually is a little bit more stiff and harder to drag onto the eye. Yeah, this one's not going quite as well. I'm going to go ahead. I want to prep my lips with the Laneige Lip Treatment Balm. Because who does not need a good lip treatment? So it's like it's not as goopy like their Laneige sleeping mask. Or this one you really have to work into your fingers. This almost smells and tastes kind of like bubblegum. Alright, so now we are ready for the priming of the face. There are a couple of things I want to try for the priming, one being this actual primer, and the other one being this Undone Beauty. So I'm going to start off with this. I'm going to start dabbing this all over my face. I don't know, can you even tell if there's anything on my face? I don't know. This does not come out super well. Like, first and foremost, this is so hard to get it to come out, and I can't even tell. Okay, so I literally am like pushing this as hard as I can in order to get out like any product I hate. Like, okay, maybe that's a little better. Like, you have to press really super hard, and I feel like I should not have to press this hard. Like, it's hurting my face to have to press it this hard to get it to come out. Like, this just hurts. This is not fun. It's not comfortable. I'm gonna go ahead and try out this KVD Pore Refining Primer. This is supposed to minimize the look of pores instantly and over time. It's hydrating, blurring, makeup extending, infused with rice, water, and green lentil. It talks about the ingredients, and I think that's about it. So here is the packaging. It's just like just like basic tube packaging. Doesn't really say anything on it either. So let's get a little bit out. I hate trying to open stuff. It's so hard sometimes to get stuff open. Okay, so first and foremost, this does look very silicone. It doesn't, pore refining. Does it say anything it doesn't say anything about silicone free though. I think it has silicone in it. Hold on. Ingredients. Yeah, dimethicone. So yeah, it does. So I'm just gonna take this, I'm gonna warm it up in between my fingers. It feels very nice, very moussey, like a very nice whipped light texture, which will be great for filling in. It kind of feels cooling. Is this supposed to feel cooling? Because it does. It literally feels very cooling. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting formula. Why does this feel so cooling? Does it say anything about cooling? I swear it did not say anything about hydrating, blurring, makeup extending, infused with rice water and green lentil. Literally, that's all that it says. But it feels very cooling. Okay. I think it does a pretty good job blurring my pores, and it does kind of mattify. So like this area right here is all nice and mattified. I do have pores. Pore minimizing or blurring does not mean it's going to get rid of your pores. It just doesn't make them look as bad, and it'll help makeup glide over instead of settling into the pores. But you can still see them. But I do think it really just kind of mattified, blurred my pores quite a bit. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on into the setting of the face. So this is again the Wet n Wild 5-in-1 Essence Primer Plus Finish Powder. This claims that it's supposed to smooth, condition, refine pores, balance pre and post makeup. That's all it says. For number 5 is pre and post makeup. It does have dimethicone in it. So that would probably be where like the pore refining would come in. So it doesn't have much of a scent. Feels very, very nice. Silky. So I'm just going to take a brush. Has a little bit of kick up. And just start setting my face. A little bit nervous about how well this is going to go over some of the creams, because some of the creams that I did use was super sticky. This powder is a really nice powder. It went over my creams, didn't disrupt, and I don't find it to be overly heavy. So I'm going to go ahead and I just want to finish off my lower lash line. I'm going to try to make this pretty quick. I think I'm going to go into the shade. We'll just go back into that like Baldwin Hills shade. Get a little bit. Dust it off. And we will just kind of... So then for the inner corner, we're going to go into this shade right here called Manhattan Beach. We're just going to take that again on this little brush that I got from, I don't know where. I think it's Alien Cosmetics, but it doesn't say on the brush, so I don't actually know. But I think. I'm just going to work that right here into my inner corner. Right there. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to dive on into this Juvia's Place blush palette. I do want to start off with the shade right here. See if maybe we can get a little bit onto my cheeks. Because the other one is pretty bright. And I don't necessarily want to go that bright or that pink either. Oh yeah. That shows up for sure. Yeah, no, that's 100% pink. I cannot stand myself sometimes. But anyways, I'm moving on to the lips. And I'm trying to line my lips with this Rare Beauty in the shade Fun. And I'm filling it in ever so slightly. So then we're going to go with this Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Balm. And then I'm going to take this from Essence. This is the Extreme Shine Volume Lip Gloss in the shade, does it say? Or maybe Purple Rain. Purple Rain. So here's the completed and final look, testing out some new makeup products. Let me know what you guys think of the look down below. Do you like this? Do you not? I'm actually very happy with it. I am not going to lie. I am, if I do say so myself. So let's go ahead. Let's dive on into my final thoughts on all the products in a ranking style of video. So let's go ahead. Let's dive on into my least favorite product, which is going to be this from Undone Beauty. This is the Sheer Radiance Serum Tint Enhancing Wand from Lit From Within Glow. I feel like this did nothing. Trying to get the product out is a headache. It is painful. You don't get a lot of product out. It's very just like sticky. It doesn't want to move around. Like basically wherever you plop down the dot is where it wants to stay. I would not use this. I was trying to use this as a primer, but after dealing with this, like they say you can use this as like a highlighter, things like that. I would not. This will pill everything up. Does not move. This is just not good. I don't know why. I used to like a lot of stuff from Undone Beauty, but here lately I just have not been feeling them at all, and this is one example why. Next up is going to be this from Charlotte Tilbury, the Pillow Talk Balm. First of all, I know that like granted the whole entire pack from Sephora is $28. I do think that's a really good value. You get some really good products in there. I just want to say you get what, 2 full size, I think. You get 2 full size and you get 3 minis. And I think that that's a really great deal for it being like $28. I know Charlotte Tilbury is pretty expensive as well. But if I'm just ranking from like my favorites or whatever, I would put probably the bag as a whole higher. But like this just being like a balm and how expensive Charlotte Tilbury is, like I can't justify that for the price. Next up is going to be this from Rare Beauty. It is the lip liner. I have tried their other lip liner. I really do enjoy this lip liner, but is it my favorite color? No, it's so light, which I guess it does kind of work for this look, but I'm not much of one for like a light lip like this. I usually like something a little bit more bold and intense, but I will say it's not the worst. Next up is going to be this powder from Wet n Wild. This is actually a pretty decent powder. The only thing I will say is that if you have dry skin, such as myself, you really are going to have to beat the brush like to get all that extra powder out because it can get a little bit heavy. But some of my cheek products were like extremely sticky, and I was afraid that like going over it with that powder that it was just going to like pill up or it wasn't going to set on it really well, but it actually did a fantastic job. I was really impressed with that. Next up are going to be these from Adept, the little eyeliners. I think that they're decent. I feel like the black went on. That was really good. They feel really watery. Well, at least the black one did, but the one that I was using like for my swoop, that one took a lot of like work. Like it felt like it was just like wherever I would put it, it would just like a little line like this small is all I could draw before it was like completely and totally out and I had to dip back in. That was a lot more work. I didn't have that issue with like the black one. But also one of my things that I don't necessarily really care about these is that you don't know what the shades are because they all look like this. Next up, KVD is this pore refining primer. I thought it was a really good pore refining. It does have some dimethicone in it. I felt like it blurred. It's not like number one because I will say my number one is probably going to be like the Winky Lux whipped cream primer. That's a phenomenal primer. That's a great primer. And I do want to say I really did enjoy priming my face with like the e.l.f. putty primer, going over the Power Grip, and then using some setting spray and letting that dry, and then going over with foundation. I really enjoyed that. I want to try that technique without using any other primers, see what I think of it then. Next up is going to be this from Adept. It's their palette. This is probably going to be one of my favorite palettes. I think I really like the mattes, and I love that there's a lot of matte options because I think their matte formula is a really good matte formula, especially for like building up color, so it's not like too intense at one time. But their shimmers in this palette, I don't know. I have never ever had issues with their shimmers like I did with this palette, and I don't know what it is because like, as you can tell, it just is already fading away. I used a NYX glitter glue and it just sticks in one area and it's very clumpy. It's very chunky. I really have never ever had issues with any of their other palettes, if we're going to be perfectly honest. So the fact that I struggled so much with the shimmers, the mattes were beautiful. I had no issues with the mattes. I still think it looks really beautiful. Great job. It's just the shimmers were a little off for me. Next up is going to be this from Essence, the Extreme Shine Volume lip gloss. I love their lip glosses. You just see, like, there's no plumping. Like, it's not like, there's no tingling. There's no minty. There's none of that. Right? There's none of that. But it's just so, just like, high shine in your face that, like, it literally looks like your lips are ginormous. Like, they're huge. Next up is going to be this little sponge. I think it's very soft. The one thing I will say, though, is that, like, although it's soft, this is kind of probably one of the most impractical sponges I think I have ever used. Like, you can't really use, like, this part. This does nothing. And then this, I usually like to use the bottom of my sponges for, like, my contour. Couldn't really do that. Next up is going to be this from Juvia's Place, their little blush duo. I love this blush duo. I think it is so cute. I think it's a very good, like, dupe for, like, the Dior blush. And I like how you get two different shades. You get something that's a little bit lighter, but you do get something to, like, amp up, punch up the blush if you want. I feel like we're going to just do a little bit, okay? We're just going to kind of go right on into that pink blush. And we may have gone a little overboard. I literally just dunked in once. But I love just like the pigment that is in here. I love like how affordable it is at the drugstore. You get quite a bit of product. And then coming in first place is going to be this little lip balm from Laneige. Honestly, this is, lip treatment balm. It smells and tastes almost kind of like a strawberry starburst or like bubble gum. Very, very, very hydrating on the lips. It's a really good product, especially if you have dry lips, chapped lips. You need something that's really going to prep your lips for putting on maybe like a liquid lipstick or something like that. I think you're really going to enjoy this option. I think it's phenomenal. So that is it for today's video. I hope that you all enjoyed. If you did, then definitely give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Click the little bell if you have not yet already. Thank you all for coming out and hanging out with me. And I will see you all in my next one. Bye.